Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deborah Eckerling, author of the award-winning Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and creator of the DEB Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. I am a speaker, workshop leader, and champion of goals. And every week I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat. And then on Mondays, I bring in friends to dive deep into the topic. And then on Thursday, it magically becomes an episode of the Deb Show podcast. So whether you're watching live or the replay or listening to us, we are glad you're here. And today we're talking about communication because it's the basis for everything. Because you can't communicate. Exactly. And who better to talk about communication with than my friends from the 140 conference world? And we have, of course, the grand poobah of communication, Jeff Pulver. He's rolling his eyes as I introduce him. Hank Wasiak, who is a USC professor. And just because it's funny, the person Jeff was supposed to fly out to see in March 2020 got canceled, in addition to Jeff coming out to meet with the rest of us. So I think not amusing, but I feel on the 2-year anniversary from when the world shut down, another perfect reason to bring my IRL friends who I haven't seen IRL in ages together. And of course, we also have Shirin Laor-Raz Salemnia of WhizGirl Academy, another frequent champion of 140 Conference Life. Thank you all. I'm so excited. And why don't I let you introduce yourselves, and then we'll get to talking about communications. Jeff, let's start with you, shall we?
I'll just say hi. My name is Jeff, and I enjoy the ability to communicate. I believe that no matter how the internet evolves, the ability to connect with someone in a meaningful way will always be the killer application. The means not as important as long as the message is delivered, and the technology will evolve. We can go virtual. We can hang out in a metaverse, but at the end of the day, it's the connecting that matters. So I'm a strong believer in our ability to communicate inside and out.
Well, you've also been like the connector. You went from the IRL connector, which we all know you are, to the let's get together with frequency person.
This is true. I somehow during the last 2 years launched an entertainment network, and I do 4 live shows a week, and I host 2 live passion-based networking groups a week, where I look to find things in common. You know, in particularly during the pandemic, when many of my friends may have been out of work, I never wanted people to introduce themselves based on what they did for a living. So I always ask people where they are from and something they're passionate about. And I think that ultimately it's the passions that we embrace that gives us the opportunity to communicate, to keep our vibe high, and to really to connect in a meaningful way. And so I continue to connect, continue to communicate. And my passion to communicate came at a young age. I like to believe, in fact, just even earlier today, I was on my amateur radio. So I've been a ham radio operator most of my life. And it's one of those hobbies that keep on reminding me how important it is to connect and communicate.
It's so important and so on theme. So thank you, Jeff. We're going to go to the question, what are you passionate about? But not yet.
Okay.
So Shirin, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to see everyone. This is really exciting. I love how Jeff was doing these conferences in person, and we would always communicate in person and collaborate and do so many things. And now we're doing virtually. So even though it's a little bit after the 2 years that we were supposed to meet in person, it's still good.
Any day is a good day when you get to hang out with new friends, but also OG friends, for lack of a better word, of this
Absolutely.
communication verse. And can you tell a little bit more about how you fit into the communication world?
Sure. So a number of ways. I feel like I got my initial job in the toy business through communication. I asked my boss for an informational interview, and I bugged him for 9 months until he finally gave me a job. So if I didn't communicate my passion and my need, I would have never gotten a job. And even though he said no initially at the informational interview, I literally asked him for a job and he said no. But 9 months later, I kept bugging him, sending letters and everything. And we didn't have Google at the time, so it was like emails. I'm now aging myself. But communicating has always been super important for me. And I think it's really interesting to communicate now that we're like, in a sense, virtual, but also like we have all these methods of communication with tech. It's huge.
Yes. And I feel like a world that we all were really comfortable playing in, now everybody has like trial by fire. It had to become comfortable with communicating, not just in person, but in person this way. Well, great to see you. I am going to swap you out for our buddy Hank. Hi, Hank. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, you're welcome. It's great to be here with old buddies and old friends. It's really nice. And by the way, you said Jeff was going to come out and with us and do the class. When Jeff didn't do that, he was very kind to do a mentor wisdom 10-minute video for me, for my class that I played. And I watch every few months just to inspire myself. I'll give you a link to that. I advise anyone to watch that video. It will move the hell out of you as it did to me. So thanks again for that, Jeff.
My pleasure. That just was an honor to be able to share with you and your class, and I'm just grateful for that opportunity. And I will come back to California. I do promise that. I will make it one day.
That's cool. And my communications world, I've been in marketing communications all my life. I love it. It's my business, my passion, my life. Everything I do revolves around that. And I'm one of those Mad Men guys. I started in the Mad Men era, and I've been at it straight through for 56 years, longitudinally. So I've seen it all from beginning to end to now. And here's the serendipity part of it that I love to tell. Just as I was ready to retire, I met a young woman named Erica O'Grady who dragged me to a 140 conference that Jeff Pulver was having. And I met Jeff at the very first one. And I said, instead of retiring, I am going to dive into where this world is going. And that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years. And so it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of great stories to tell. And now the last 15 years, I've been an adjunct professor of marketing at USC and having a wonderful time. I always tell everybody I'm an old guy from Brooklyn teaching the next generation of co-eds at USC about digital marketing. Go figure that. But it's fun. So I'm delighted to be here with you all.
Well, and it really just goes to show when you follow the path, the things that you love, you have no idea where it will take you. But by going, I'm going to make a link in a second, going with your passion, the things that you love, you never know what can come of it and who you can encounter. But even more importantly, in what ways you can make the world better for other people, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned Jeff's video. I would love to include that in the recap of the show. And so you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for the recap from this and my previous episodes. And the link to that is in the chat as well. But that would be a great addition to link to when
worth to watch.
So it really starts with the passion. I think we're all agreed with this passion for communication, for connecting. What else are you passionate about? Jeff, I can't answer this question for you. Go right ahead.
You go ahead. If you can answer for me if you like.
No, I'd rather see if you get it correct.
Oh, I see. Well, there's multitude of passions underlying with communication, but it's really I'll just focus on theme for today, which is really to connect in a meaningful way, to truly leverage the moments we have to communicate verbally, non-verbally, and to not forget about the now, to be in flow. That when we're connecting and we're living in the state of now, well, we're always in the state of now. We don't always recognize it, but when we're in that flow, it's just pure magic. And I think I have the highest degree of connectivity when I'm connecting with other people who are also sharing that same moment, that same experience. And on one level, I've learned not to take anything for granted and to be grateful, and at the same time be present, and not to live in the could haves and should haves, but think in the present moment and look forward and understand that we are here, that just whatever challenges we've ever had, we've gotten through our darkest days. We're survivors. We've made it. And we're here right now. So that congratulations. Whatever you worried about didn't matter. You got through that. So now we're here and we get to be present. And so part of connecting and communicating is to center yourself and to find yourself in a way where you can communicate, and dare I say, self-love, where you're allowed to take time out for yourself to do the things that you love, that give you the empowerment to get things done. And it's not being selfish. It's being selfish not to do self-love, not to take care of yourself. And so for me, communicating inwardly, outwardly, to be present, is what I'm all about. And I enjoy connecting people, providing the moments for that serendipity and synchronicity to happen. I enjoy aha moments, moments where it just, you figure it out. And I'm continuously rethinking ways to connect back to the universe. I have a photograph of the Milky Way I took a few years ago at 4:04 in the morning, and I make it a point whenever possible, although the last 2 years have been challenging, to go out, find those stars, and to align myself inside and out with the universe, because no matter how big we think we are, we're all made of cosmic dust. And we're just here for those moments relative to time. So we learn to take advantage of what we can. And again, never live. We do not want to ever, apologize for what we didn't do, but focus on where we are and where we can go.
Really, really powerful. And you're right. We're here. Yay. Go team us. And what's ahead of you is whatever you decide to make of it, but staying in the moment, staying in flow, and being open to those cosmic connections, I think are huge. And you orchestrate them. So thank you, Jeff, because I wouldn't know Hank or Shirin if not for you. And there you go.
But it requires an openness and a willingness to connect, right? Some people are closed. Some people don't want to meet other people. Some people very much are living in the no, as opposed to the maybe and yes and can. And I'm somebody who sees no and turns it upside down, turns it on, right? So if you want to make something happen, the biggest change I've had in the last 2 years is I've given up trying. I just focus on doing. And I may have been inspired by Star Wars, but when you make that part of your life, I forget about the George Lucas references all the time, and I just focus on getting it done and doing, and knowing that if I don't get it done, I did my best going forward, that I didn't try. It was me in flow doing, and not everything time's right. So that some things you do today, you get the results tomorrow. Sometimes it's 2 years from now. But being in that moment helps create other moments to go forward with. So I'm forever grateful to know each and every one of you, and for the opportunities to continue to connect and to explore the universe as we do.
Awesome. So Hank,
Yeah.
what about you? I mean, obviously you love your communication life, but what else are you passionate about?
Well, for a life, quite frankly. I mean, and I've come to appreciate that more the older and wiser I get. But what I've come to appreciate more than ever is people. And believe it or not, the pandemic reinforced that in me quite a bit. And that people are so important in your life, not only the ones that are around you all the time, but just people you meet and encounter. And to Jeff's point, serendipity has changed my life about 5 or 6 different times. And I tell people, particularly students of mine now, that and I understand your point about find what you're passionate about and go for it. But very often, or sometimes, you don't know your passion, and you have to be open for it to find you. And keeping that open mind is what I see young people today doing more of. I went in, I wanted to be at a Deloitte consulting company. Now all of a sudden, I think I want to be in marketing communications doing X, Y, and Z. Just have to be open to it all. And the other thing that I'm passionate about now, and I wish I would have done earlier in my life, is giving back and volunteering. Everyone should have volunteering built into their DNA and do it all the time. I didn't discover that until later in my life, and I'm now a volunteer for the Heart Association, and it's made me better at everything I do, everything. And that volunteering gene really is something that people should cultivate. And then last but not least, I think, Jeff talks about the now, and I couldn't agree more. The Power of Now is a book that a friend of mine by Eckhart Tolle gave me that a number of years ago, and it totally changed my life. And I changed from a coulda, shoulda, would, but if only I've done person into a look ahead person. So do that. And the other thought that I just leave you with is, you hear a lot about leaving a legacy. And at my age, you think about that. But I found out a number of years ago, don't leave a legacy, live your legacy. Live your legacy every day and live into it. And then what you leave behind will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's just building off of what Jeff had said, and appreciate the opportunity to express that.
I love that. And we all have these gifts, the things that we're passionate about, the things that we love, and we don't necessarily know what they are. And that's a big reason of why I do what I do. You can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And you need to give yourself that permission to explore, and not only to explore, but maybe even remember the things that you used to love that got so squashed down by life, right? Really good points. Love them. Shirin, what about you? What are you passionate about?
So this is, again, thank you, Deborah, for this opportunity. It's like a combination of what Jeff said and Hank said mashed up. Like Jeff was talking about Star Wars, and I was going to say Yoda says do or do not. There's no try. I have a Yoda bracelet. That reminds me of that every day. And Hank said give back. And that's what Deepak Chopra told me when I was having my existential crisis, because I had a dream job. I wanted to be like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Like I did the informational interview. I bugged my boss for 9 months until he finally said yes and created a position for me, because he saw that I was super passionate about toys and I was obsessed with wanting to be like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. And then when I had my existential crisis and Deepak Chopra told me to give back, I was like, I don't understand. Like I volunteer my time. I give money to charity. I wholeheartedly agree with Hank about giving back and volunteering. It's super important. But for me, that was like a mission and a purpose, because it was like, well, Deepak Chopra, which I didn't know who he was. This is 2005 at the time when I met him. I had no clue who he was, and he told me to give back. And I was like, wait, what does that mean? Can you tell me, like, give back to who, what, where, like another word, please? He was like, no, trust me, you'll figure it out. And I was like, you can't leave me hanging. Come on, like, I'm super passionate. Like, I wish I had the Steve Jobs commencement speech at the time so that I could connect the dots going forward. I was doing it anyways, but like, you know how he talks about, like, he was super passionate about calligraphy, so he did that, and he was super passionate about Japanese, so I did that. Like everything was super heart-centered, and I've always been super heart-centered because I think it's super important. But giving back and connecting the dots going forward led me to my roots, which was gaming. And like my kind of gaming was like really different though. So like I grew up with Atari 2600 and like Nintendo, and like that didn't exist anymore. So I wanted to bring that back. And those are the things that kind of led me to this, I call it being on the tech yellow brick road, of like synchronicities and synergies and all the things that I've done as part of my like purpose and life mission. And like Hank said, leaving a legacy while I'm living it. Whatever happens after I go, that is what it is. But like I'm actually doing it live every day. And so I'm super passionate about making a difference for the next generation of kids through what we do at WhizGirls Academy with the hackathons and the healthy balanced lifestyle tech with like meditation and fitness and a little bit of coding and learning how to be entrepreneurs and then pitching like Shark Tank style to real investors. And we're a little bit focused on inner city kids because I feel like they need the give back more than ever, but we're open to everyone, and a little bit slightly more focused on girls, but we're open and we're inclusive of boys as well. And then with PlayWerks, it's more like doing the gaming and stuff that we did. Well, I did when I learned back in the day how to play Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and now doing it focused on STEM for the next generation. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Wow. And as you're talking, and this is so funny, I interviewed you about all of this a couple years ago, 3, and I will definitely, I put the link in the chat, but I'll definitely put that in the show notes as well, because it tells how you got from A to where you are now. And we've got Marilyn Zayford, who's I met at the New York 140 conference when I was speaking. She is, by the way, moving to Los Angeles. Yay, one more good person.
Awesome.
She wrote, I employ 3,000 youth for summer work, which is wonderful and amazing. We also have watching live Lizzie saying volunteering enhances life. It does. We do what we can to give back, and giving back gives us, right? And then we also have our friend Eugene Barlas. Wait, my friend should stop writing code for Atari and Nintendo. What are they supposed to work on?
I'll take them at WhizGirls Academy. I'm happy to take them.
I had a feeling you would say something like that. Thank you. Thank you for playing right into. So we all have the theme of communication. And one thing that I say, which is I think part of why I'm attracted to like minds, is you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. The more people you have, the more people you have. And that first step is the hello. But beyond that, what is the key, other than starting the conversation, to successful communication? Shirin, do you want to start us?
Sure. Well, I mean, I keep going back to the case of my boss at Mattel, but it was finding what he was looking for and then adding to it. And then finally, at the end, I basically said, like, I want a job here. But I think it's really like when you meet someone new and communicate, like you always have like to find that common point. And it used to when I used to go to conferences like Jeff's conference or Milken or wherever I was going, I would look up people before I would meet them so that I would have a point in common with them and talk about that and see how I could be of service, but then also like how we could potentially work together. So that's kind of like normally what I do. Nowadays it's a little different because now we're all technically either virtual or now conferences are coming back, so we could still do that, but I highly recommend that.
So it's really start with asking, right?
Well, start with what you have in common with them and something that that either is their pain point or something that they need, and then ask how you can help. But then also, like, you can ask at the end, maybe like if you have a request or something like that.
Got it. You start with finding the thing, right? What can you talk about beyond this conference, this situation, whatever. I remember when I first met Jeff, and Jeff does his spiel about, not spiel, but he talks about ham radio. Yes, I will go to you next, Jeff. But about ham radio being his entree into communication. And my response was, when I was in high school, I was friends with all the ham radio guys. And if we went to high school together, we totally would have been friends. And we've been friends ever since. So I think that's a great commonality story. Don't you, Jeff? Why are you shaking your head at me?
I'm not shaking your head. I wrote down intention and purpose, that if you want to communicate with somebody, set your intention and purpose. This is what I want to do. And also remove fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Don't worry about how the person's going to react. If you don't reach out to the person, you will not have any opportunity whatsoever to communicate with them. To Shirin's point, at conferences, there are times when I might have flown to a conference to meet a speaker, They did not know I wanted to meet them, so I would find a casual way to meet them in an elevator, maybe in a hallway, maybe in the speaker lounge, maybe after they spoke. I dare not want them to think I was stalking them, but
Oh, you mean like I stalked you, Jeff?
If you find meaningful ways to put yourself in the flow of others, magic will happen. It's one of those one ways to increase the serendipity factor. And so for me, setting the intention and understanding. And by the way, there are many times you meet interesting people and you don't know why you're meeting them. So I've come to the conclusion that there's a reason why I meet people, and then afterwards I figure it out. It's like life is like playing a game of connect the dots. It's the order that you connect those dots that give meaning to the connections that are made. And so sometimes when I'm leading with the dots, I know exactly why I'm reaching out. And I have a conference I'm doing real soon, which I'm curating. And so, telepathically, people are not going to approach me to speak at the conference if I don't reach out to them. So I've been doing that. And one of my goals for 2022 is to relaunch the 140 conference. And I had originally planned on doing it in May. Looks like it's going to be in June. This is the unofficial soft announcement launch that we're going to do a 2-day event. It'll be during the week, and it'll be global, across the world, taking place between I guess in West Coast time. It'll run somewhere between 9 a.m. 8 a.m. and about 1 or 2 p.m. East Pacific time, depending upon the length of it. But it's meant to capture 8 time zones from the West Coast, the U.S. and Canada, into the Middle East. So it can't start too early, can't end too late. But we've had audience members fly in from all over the world in the past, and this time it's going to be virtual. If this works out, I will encourage people to meet in their cities, in their towns, if they want to get together locally. But at least the first iteration of this coming back to life, it's going to be a virtual event. I have a whole spiel why it can be fun to be virtual, which I won't get into, but let's just say that it'll be a wonderful way to acknowledge people from any place in the world who want to speak, to share their voice. And I look forward to that. And it will give us many opportunities to connect and to communicate and to play connect the dots.
Awesome. Very excited. Yay, go 140 conference. Woohoo. Mm-hmm. So Hank.
Yeah.
What do you think is the key to successful communication?
First of all, I reiterate an awful lot about what Jeff said as well as Shirin, but the thing that I think is the key to successful communications is listening. And and I learned those lessons the hard way. I was always interrupting, doing things, and the key is listen. As I think someone said, that's why God gave you twice as many 2 ears and 1 mouth. So it is true. Listening and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. As hard as that is to do, you have to work at that and do that, and then recognize you're there to create empathy with them. And the one piece of advice that someone gave me, the woman I co-authored my first book with, Dr. Kathy Kramer, where she said, I talked about, let's see how we can change people's minds. And she said to me something I've never forgotten. The best thing that can happen to you, Hank, she said, is you go in with a deep purpose of changing someone's mind, and you come out with your mind changed. And that's when communication really happens. Both of you pull it in and out of yourself, and you make a difference. And I think, the one thing that, Jeff, I think on one of your conferences, I spoke on a subject that I bring into marketing called the humanization of brands.
Yes, we did.
I had a really good one about that. And marketing and brand building in the market has caught up with that. Everything is about a human connection and personalization and all those words that we're using and talking now. And the digital world, to Jeff's point and Shirin's point, has enabled that more than ever. So great time to be communicating.
I love this. I paraphrased you a little bit, but I so agree. Communication works best when you both get something out of it for, putting it in the simplest terms. And when we did the Twitter chat last night and I answered that question, I said listening, especially as someone who likes to talk. It's not, when you want to communicate, it isn't about you. It is about, it's an us, right?
Hey, can I say something?
Yes,
I want to
you
give
may.
a shout out to my friend Marilyn, did you say she's coming out to California?
Yes.
All right. Yay. Can't wait to see you, kid. It'll be fun.
Yes, we win when we compromise. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, that leads into the next question, which is, what do you do when there are breakdowns in communication? Do you have, I don't want to say any magic, because, well, maybe there is. What do you think? What do you think, Hank?
Well, my thing is to take a deep breath, give it one more try, and then give it a second try, and then if you can't fix that breakdown, you got to really step back from it and just stop and come back and visit it again and start over. But don't ever give up on it. But you just have to do that, and that's, as we said, try to always come back from that other person's point of view. Like, for example, if Jeff and I had a breakdown of communications, and I would come back in a week, I would go and put my Jeff Pulver hat on and say, okay,
Nice
Jeff,
hat, nice hat.
I'm back on your terms. Let's talk a little bit more. And I do things like that. You just got to be creative, and it's up to you. It's what fits and what you believe personally.
And again, looking for those mutually beneficial situations. I like to take a deep breath and then take another one. And sometimes you do have to walk away. You have to find that balance between how badly do you want to bang your head against the wall and how badly do you want to move forward.
And by the way, that's happened to me a couple of times in my career, and some really important issues with people I cared about. And you got to get over that fast. You have to just say, hey, it didn't work. It may work later, but c'est la vie, and move on. And you got to get over it fast and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what Jeff was saying before about self-care. If you can't run through the brick wall, stop hitting the brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff,
Well,
what do you think?
Well, there are lots of different, types of communication breakdowns. If I want to go back to the Zeppelin, but in terms of how we break down in the communication, there are also times when your body will actually, your soul, if you will protect you. I mean, there's certain people that might want to take advantage of your kindness, take advantage of your energy. There are people who I would characterize, because I don't have a better term, as energy vampires. Folks that see you coming a mile away and they're leveraging you. And so you have a very strong reaction, which seems to be like, why are you behaving in a way that you don't even understand? But really, it's your own it's your own early warning system that something is amiss. So not every communication breakdown is necessarily bad. But if you were talking about having a communication with a friend and something was just misunderstood or that's different. And there's, how do I repair it? Well, you either, go back into it and before you say you're sorry, understand what you're apologizing for. And because if you're not sincere, if it's just words and not actions, if it's not energetically on the same vibe, it's not going to have any meaning. So, it's not necessarily about being right or being wrong. If you want to connect with that person, you will find the path to connect with that person energetically. Because it's, for me, I think Tesla got it right, that life is all about energy, vibration, and frequency. And when you could find a way to vibe with a person and keep the vibe high, you will find the right way to tune into that person's soul. And so I'm a very strong believer in high vibe communication. And we don't always have to agree, right? But we could respect each other's voices. We could listen to each other. Not even debate, just listen and process, and then perhaps move on if possible. And if not, not. But there are some forums where you can agree to disagree, and that's okay too. But I believe there is a diplomacy associated with bringing people together of like minds, and we're all allowed to believe what we believe in, and we don't all have to agree. And that's what makes it. Life would be very boring if everyone you spoke to agreed with everything you said. Let's face it, right? If we all had the same opinion
All the time.
all the
Abby, all the
time,
time.
it would be. And if you imagine if you're with a friend and all you keep on saying is yes, I agree, yes, I agree, yes, I agree. What's your opinion? I don't have one. Whatever you say is fine with me. Like, wait a second. That's just it's self-deprecating at some level, even if you are in perfect alignment, because you must have an opinion about something. So for me, communicating is a it's a multi-dimensional. There are multiple layers to it. It's not a flat piece of paper. It's not two-dimensional, but there are multi-dimensions to it. And so if we're not talking about a adverse reaction to someone's energy, and you simply had a communication breakdown, if you like to fix it, fix it. But don't worry about the other person making the first move. The moment you do that, you're not a friend. You may not be an enemy, but you certainly don't have that connection. So when you start keeping track of who called who last, if you start being petty about certain things, which may be very meaningful to you, may be incredibly meaningful, but if you want to get the point, if I'm looking to sell Hank a service, I need to be persistent. It's always be closing. And when you're dealing with friends, it's always be a friend. And so I don't keep track of the last email that I sent somebody, the last text I sent somebody. But I tell you this, as you get older, and you lose friends who pass away suddenly, and you didn't tell them you love them. If you didn't tell them, I really appreciate your company, that's something which you could never really have a chance to say other than in your dreams. So don't be afraid to say I love you. Don't be afraid to tell someone they matter to you. Don't be afraid to do the things that they only can do now when you're in contact with somebody, because it's unfortunately we live in a world and at a time where we only miss people when they're gone. Let's appreciate everyone while they're here. Let's appreciate who we are. Let's appreciate who we can communicate with, connect with, and be present for each and every one of us now, so that when someone is missing or someone is left, they know how much they were loved while they were alive.
Aw. That's all I got. Aw. It's true. Time is precious. Life is precious. Stay in touch. Stay in tune.
Okay.
Okay. Sound good? Well, and really wonderful answers to such an important question, because we can't all love each other all the time, right? You can't always agree with the people who mean things to you, but don't let the time slip by. I think is a very valid point. So, what tips do you all have to help people improve their communication skills? And we did touch on this, and I love the find the commonalities, because that's really do your homework before you meet people is perfect, because that way they will remember you. What other tips do you have for making those connections? Shirin, do you want to start?
Sure. I think it's really checking in with where you're at. That's like the key thing to start with. And then when you're meeting people, I would say finding the commonality obviously is huge. And I said that before, but it's also like maybe there was like some kind of news they had recently and something you want to contribute to that, or something you can help with, or just even ask, like, how can I help? Like, how can I serve you right now? Like, is there something I can do to help you with this endeavor that you're working on? Like, I think being of service is always like a key. And I think it's important. But I mean, people are at different places in their lives. So I would say first, check in with yourself, pause, and see where you're at before you connect to the other person and see where they're at.
Really good points, because you need know thyself first, right? And you also need, just dialing back to what Jeff was saying, you need to have the right energy for
Right.
connecting with people. And
Yeah.
so, Hank, what do you think?
Well, you know, to build on that, it is that the more you can find that emotional connection to start, the better off you are with a person. And I always think that we concentrate so much on words, but looks, smiles, those kinds of things really are a great way to start. And then just look for something to get that personal connection. I have a great story to tell you about. When I was doing a show in New York, Cool in Your Cone, I was interviewing celebrities. One of the guys I interviewed was Master Killer from the Wu-Tang Clan. And, how the hell am I going to relate to him? So what I did do, I was with him about 2 minutes, and I was right by his high school, and I started giving him a rap. I used to sit and speculate at the lunchroom counter, and I couldn't wait, but I didn't have the heart to step forth. And he just melted and broke down, and he spent the whole day with me just opening up. So it takes work. It's not as everything just doesn't happen. You got to work it. You got to work your ass off at these things when you build them, and then let it out and see where it goes. That's my advice.
I love that story. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Jeff.
Yes.
What about you? I know we need to make the soul connections, but beyond that, what can people do to improve their communication skills?
I think that it's situational and contextual as much as anything else. I don't think it's one size fits all. I think that if you're aware of your surroundings, and again, what is your intention? What is your goal? What are you looking to do? Why do you want to talk to that person now? I mean, if I look at everyone who reaches out to me on LinkedIn, I can share with you how not to connect with Jeff. Because I promise anyone who's listening to this on replay or live, I am not looking to hire anybody for software programming services. I promise you. I'm not interested in investing in yet another startup, most likely. I'm certainly not interested in all sorts of promotional material. No, thank you. No, thank you. And so I love the fact that, for example, today I got a message on LinkedIn. I love what you're doing at pulver3.com. And I was laughing really hard because pulver3.com, if you go to it, it doesn't even resolve. So the fact that the person loves the work I'm doing at pulver3.com makes me think that they're a cosmic comedian or something. Clearly, it was just a bad mail merge. And but you see, they don't know me, right? They can't pretend to know me. They have no idea who I am, what I'm doing, and so they failed across the board. But I remember that, not necessarily in a good way. Look, if somebody wants to connect to me, they have to find a connection that's meaningful to both of us, and that's on them. I take the same responsibility when I reach out to find somebody too. And if I'm reaching out to somebody, there's a reason I want to. And by the way, if Josh, the founder of Wordle, is listening to this broadcast, please respond to my emails, please. I have this wonderful conference I'd love to have you speak at, but you need to reply to my emails. Thank you.
One thing that
Tag him on the replay, Jeff.
One thing that I get asked a lot, and students ask me, I always, how do you get a lot of calls, Jeff? Do you take all the calls? No, you don't. But if somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm a friend of Jeff's, you don't know me, but I'd like to talk to you about that, I take it in, because I owe it to Jeff and other people that I respect. So you have to put your boundaries up and your filters. If someone says, hey, I have a great idea that's really gonna help your course tomorrow, I get, as Jeff said, I get those 100 times a day. So find those ways in, those connections.
You reminded me, Jeff, my favorite, least favorite outreach is, hey, Deb, I've got this great course on goal setting. Or Deb, attend my goal setting workshop. So I just reply with a link to my book and ask if they want a guest speaker.
Does it work? Have you ever gotten a reply back?
I haven't, but it makes me feel better.
Okay.
It is like yours, a really good example of people not doing their homework. By the same token, anybody who's either listening or watching who doesn't know any of you, if they were to reach out on LinkedIn, all you need to say is, I connected with you. I watched you.
Say that you watched us on Deb's show and you
That's
want
it.
to get to know us better.
Right.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. Absolutely. Because this, and this is unusual. Usually when I do these, I bring in people who don't know each other. This one, it was intentional to bring people together who do. So, which is fun because I can just sit back, relax, and let our communities get to know you and what you all have to offer. And normally I would ask you now to give the bonus goal, but I think because we're talking about connecting, it is the right time to ask where people can find and connect with you. So let's do that. And then we'll go to the goal portion of the conversation. So Hank, what is the best way / place for people to find, to reach out to you?
LinkedIn. I'm on there, and it's Hank Wasiak, or email me, wisdom3@mac.com. And I'll
Awesome.
just put this in the subject matter, and I guarantee you I will look at it. And Shirin can tell you, sometimes I respond a little late, but I get there and do it.
But he always responds. That's the key.
And same with you, kid. Same with you.
Well, I was just excited because you replied like within 24 hours, like, heck yeah, I want to hang out with you.
Yeah,
So
well,
thanks.
Yeah, because
There
you're
we
an
go.
important person to me.
Aw. So Jeff,
Yes.
where can people find you? What do you want them to know?
Well, I'm up early in the morning. If you don't see a Wordle from me early in the morning, East Coast time, there's something up. That's sort of a subtle sign of something happening, a disturbance in my local force. But if somebody's looking to reach me, jeff@pulver.com, I recently brought back to life. It's a 26-year-old domain. Oh my God. So it's a OG domain, and it's still me. So you could find me at jeff@pulver.com. You could attempt to reach out on LinkedIn, and sure, if you put in the subject Deborah in the subject, I'll know that it was from this show, and you will have my attention, but please don't sell me any services. You could also tweet at me. I'm still on Twitter. I think Twitter is having a renaissance of sorts, and I am enjoying that, particularly since I am doing the 140 in 2022. So I'm kind of grateful it's having a renaissance. I don't know. Yeah, so that's how you could reach me. There are other ways, but you'd have to go to pulver.com and figure out the maze that's there to figure out the other ways to find me.
Well, and to find out about the Thursday morning, which is always too early for me, and Tuesday night, which I'm almost always at, Zula, and the Jeff shows throughout the week.
That is all true. In fact, rumor has it I might be launching my own social network for the communities which I've been bringing to life over the past 26 years. So,
you mean the rumor of the email that I got yesterday? That one?
how embarrassing, since the other two people here haven't been invited yet. But yes.
Well, you say it was because you were prepping for the show.
It actually is.
Spoiler alert.
It is true, and actually, it's really for people who are active in Zula, and it was really just to like I think 10 people. So it was just a prep because I've been exploring platforms outside of Facebook. I'm not making a political conversation on whether Facebook is dead or alive, and it has a half-life that so long that we don't realize it. But I am looking for community platforms outside of Facebook for myself, and I've been evaluating different technologies from Discord to Mighty Networks and Circle, and right now I'm doing a Circle demo. I've let go of Discord, despite the coolness amongst the Gen Y, Gen Z crowd. And so since my community is mostly boomers and Gen Xers, I'm on Discord if I have to be. And now it's basically on Circle is where I'm playing, where I'm taking some stakes and seeing where it goes. And it's a compromise. But yes, so I'm playing with my own social network because why not? I think that's ultimately where I end up.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm a beta. No one feel left out.
Alpha. You're actually alpha, by the way.
Oh.
There's still a chance for beta.
Excellent. Shirin, where can people find you?
Okay, so these days I'm really more on Instagram than ever. Just, I don't know why, but for whatever reason. And my website, or you can email me. My first name Shirin at play dash, and that's the dash sign, works, WERKS.com. And also reference Deborah in this lovely chat we're having, and I'm happy to connect. But yeah, rarely on LinkedIn these days, and never really got into Twitter. I don't know why. And Facebook, no comment.
And again, you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for these links and the replay and the recaps for my weekly show. So, and to my guests, anything that you want to make sure I put in the recap, please send it to me tonight by old-fashioned email, please. And thank you. What a wonderful conversation. And the time, it always goes so fast, but we're not done yet. We need some good communication goals. So Jeff, what goal, which will help people with communication or really with anything, would you like to gift to the audience? What is something someone can do today, tonight, tomorrow to really make a difference?
Discover their superpower, embrace it, and use it for social good.
Oh, I love it. And your superpower again is?
Oh, everyone has their own, right?
No, I want to know what yours is.
Connecting.
Jeff's superpower is connecting. We all know this. So, and Shirin, what is yours?
That's a good question. I want to say, I like Jeff, everybody has a superpower. I think you need to find what that is. The biggest thing that I've been doing recently is journaling every morning when I wake up and finding what I need for the day. So that really helps. I think people should journal, and it doesn't have to be long. Like sometimes I do 1 page, sometimes I do 4 pages. It just depends. But I really devote like 30 minutes a day for that in the mornings. So I highly recommend that.
That's chapter 6.
Yeah, see, there we go. I haven't even finished your book yet, but there we go. That's perfect. And then I would say superpower. Well, I mean, my nickname has always been the Wonder Woman of Tech, so I guess that's my superpower.
Okay, wait, so is journaling the goal and Wonder Woman of Tech is the superpower?
Yes.
Okay. Journaling and Superwoman of Tech.
Wonder Woman of Tech.
Wonder Woman of Tech. See, that's why I read it out loud, as I am the Deb of all things behind the scenes. Wonder Woman of Tech.
Yes.
Awesome. So Hank, superpower first, goal second.
Superpower for me, I think is empathy. I really had put a great deal of empathy and caring that I've built that over the years. And my superpower, it may sound a little strange, is music. I really get inspired by music, and I listen to I have my genres I listen to, but every day I start out with some music that's going to just get me up and going and looking forward to what's going to go on. And Jeff, you helped me with that too, by the way.
Wow. Well, I have to confess, I am also powered by music. It is true.
Yeah.
I'm fueled by music, all types, and it keeps me going.
It does. It heals. It energizes. It moves you forward.
Inspired too.
It inspires. So is listen to music the goal, or do you have another goal that you want to gift?
Oh, my goal? My goal is to keep on helping inspire next generations of business leaders and students until I can't do it anymore. Until I can't physically get into that classroom, then I'll stop. But that's my goal. And I'm not stopping until I keep and do it and do it and do it. I had a goal last year to write another book, which I did. That's over with. Now I am all about the kids, as I call them. That's it. Nothing else matters.
That's awesome. And because Hank gave a goal for himself, of course, you know, Jeff and Shirin, you will have to give me goals as well. So your goal, Hank, for others is to listen to music, or do you have another goal that you want to gift
For them,
the audience?
is, just, as like was said, get in touch with yourself, find a goal, and find some music that's going to get you into the frame of mind that you need to communicate with others. Use that as a way to reinforce what you're doing, start your day. If you're creating content, put music in it. All of those things I think help. They just help me. And so I don't know if anybody else would find that helpful, but for me, it really works.
I love that. That's awesome. Way to frame the question. Fantastic. So Shirin, what is a goal that you have that you want to share?
Well, I got a third, I guess, the music thing, because it makes a huge difference for me as well. There's times in my life when songs have come on that have really made a difference and it rings in my head. And then last Monday, I went to the FYC for the Kanye documentary, and that was mind blowing. So I highly recommend everybody watch it. It's next level but music is a huge part of it. So goal for me is to inspire millions of children around the world, specifically, obviously, girls and boys, to be excited about tech and STEM through gaming and project-based learning in all of my projects.
That's awesome. And it's great. And like I said, I know your backstory. And so I know the run up to all of this. So that's wonderful. So Jeff, that just leaves you. What is your goal?
To bring more love into the world.
Good one.
This is like if we were in person, this would be such a hug moment. And you're all about the hug, right?
Yes. With permission in a meaningful way.
Yes, we do have to say that in this day and age.
That's true.
Wow. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I'm so glad I got to hang out with all of you today and that everybody else got to hang out with you too. Now, you can find me. I'm at the Deb Method everywhere, or thedebmethod.com/goals to learn how I can help you figure out what you want and how to get it. And my goal, or one thing I'm doing, is my goal is to change goal culture in the workplace and also in the way people view events. So I'm just excited that I get to bring such wonderful people together to share what they know to help others make their world a better place. There you go. Final thought before we wrap. Shirin, what do you want to leave people with?
Like I said earlier, I think everyone has a superpower. So when you find out what that is, don't let go. And that will be your kind of North Star to your purpose and mission on this planet. So follow your journey.
That's exactly why I do what I do. Amazing. Thank you. And so, Hank, what is your final thought?
My final thought is for me to go back to the future and for others to embrace the 140 conference that's going to come up. I know I had a little hint of it, but now that it's, quote, unofficially official, I am really ready for that. That's where my rebirth came, and I can't wait to go back there again, and I hope I'm on the speaker list.
You will be.
Awesome. And so, Jeff, what final thought do you want to leave people with?
Learn how to communicate and help bring more peace, love, and understanding into this world.
That's awesome. Because that's really what it's all about. We're not here alone. We're here. And last week I talked about community. So communication made the most sense off of that one, because that community and communication, it really goes hand in hand. So look, I cheated and did the topic twice. Yay me. Thank you all so much for joining me, Jeff, Hank, Shirin, for this wonderful conversation on communication. And for those of you who, whether you are listening or watching, whether you're live on the replay, thank you. We so appreciate you taking the time, not just to explore these people, but really taking the time for yourself, for choosing yourself, because that's what the goals start with. They start with you. So go out there, communicate, make new friends. Remember, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.